And welcome back to the 2023 Mammoth Trail Fest. We are here for our elite athlete interviews. My name is Dylan Bowman, joined, of course, by my co-host MK Sullivan, and we now have the Hem Dogs, as I just called them.
Hem Dogs.
Spontaneously as I walked into the conference room here. Eli Hemming and Tabor Hemming here from Colorado. How are you guys feeling?
We are feeling great. Honestly, last weekend was like a primer for this one. It was all uphill, so we didn't ruin the legs, and we're ready to go.
And it's at altitude, so like we're in our homeostasis of like what we usually run in. So yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, you guys are right around 8,000 feet at home, right?
Yeah, we sleep at 8,000.
So this is like small potatoes. Say, no
Nothing.
biggie.
Yeah.
Who needs altitude training?
Before we talk about pikes, talk about like this time in between, like the traveling out here and sort of balancing the all uphill race only 6 days ago, now going into another like super important, super competitive race tomorrow.
Yeah, so like we really stacked our training super heavy like leading up into this so that we could take these 2 weeks as like the full nice taper. And so traveling is actually better for us because it like makes us sit there and like not do anything, because we're the type of people that be like sitting somewhere and we're like, are you bored?
Should we go for a run?
We do it all the time.
Yeah. Like yesterday, we're like, are you bored? And Eli's like, yeah, I'm bored. I'm like, you want to go for a hike? Like, it's low level activity.
This is active recovery.
Yeah. We're getting the blood moving gently.
But then every time it's flat, we end up running anyway.
So yeah, travel's been good for us, and like I think this last 2 weeks has been nice because it's reset like the minds and bodies after like cranking it pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you guys drive out here in the van? Or did you fly? Not
No,
this time?
we ended up flying. So we were planning on driving. And then we looked at the forecast a few weeks ago, and we like kind of had a little panic moment. We were like, it's supposed to be like 100 degrees in the in-between states. So if we park somewhere and are trying to stay in the van, we're going to roast. Yeah. So we like last minute bought flights, and we're like, this will probably be better.
I think that was a good move. Yeah, because I mean, even here it's going to be colder, like than definitely colder than it was last year when I was here. But yeah, to have the 100-degree days and then the 30-degree nights, like, what do you even pack for in that in that moment?
You pack the whole closet.
The whole closet.
Yeah,
that's what I did to come here. So.
Okay, let's talk about Pikes Peak. Holy smokes, you guys smashed it there.
Thanks.
Eli, third place. Tabor, you were ninth. Incredible performances there on the big hill in southern Colorado. Maybe starting with you, Tabor, tell us about the race, how it evolved for you, how you feel about the performance, and how the body feels now, 5 days later.
Yeah, it was actually a really good race until tree line for me. And then I am a terrible fueler, and I really need to get better at fueling. But I got to tree line, and I think the exertion was too high, and I was like hanging out in fifth, super stoked. I was like, I'm having the race of my life. This is great. And then I just had like some dry heaving issues, so I like faded quite hard that last 3 miles. And I think it was the worst 3 miles because you can see the top. Yeah. You just look up. And I kept thinking Matt Carpenter has like a write-up on Pikes Peak. He like gives like step-by-step details. And he says, once you get above tree line, don't look up. And I was like, don't look up, Tabor. Don't look up, Tabor. And I just kept focusing on it. And I was like, oh, I looked up. There's the top. But I would say like, I was happy with it just because, like, I think as athletes, we're always looking for the next better thing. And, like, if I would have placed like that last year and ran that time, I would have been, like, super stoked. So I had to kind of take a step back and, like, be happy with it. So I was really happy with 75% of that race. And, yeah, I want to go back. Hopefully they put it back on the schedule.
25% next year.
Yeah, not only can you see the top, but you can also see the people ahead of you. And you're like, oh, maybe I could do it. Nope, can't. I'll be fine. I'm
but
here.
Then you look at the people catching you. And you're like, I think they're running so much faster than me. And then you hear the people getting announced that are finishing. And you're like, I'm close. I'm so close. And then you're like, that was 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of switchbacking up there too, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, and
well,
legs feel
congrats.
good.
Yeah, awesome run. Eli,
Thanks.
tell us about your race. Third place, man. Sick behind Remy and Patrick. Another just like really solid podium performance for you in the World Series.
Yeah, I was super stoked. Like knocked a couple minutes off of last year's result. I think I have quite a ways to go on that one. I was telling this to my coach. I was like, I felt like I got to the top and I was running really hard. I couldn't go any harder. but I had more in the tank. Like I could have just kept going at that speed. I probably could have run a great marathon that day, but I just couldn't go any faster. So I think next year, come back, see if I can knock quite a few minutes off that time.
Meaning like you need to improve the leg speed a little bit more?
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I honestly, it could have just been altitude, and I could be completely wrong on that one. But it was one of those days where just the legs weren't turning over quite as fast as I wanted them to. I'm glad I did not try to go with Remy and Patrick off at the start. They went flying out of the gun. I was a little bit more conservative. Me and Danny Sands kind of ran together up what they call the W's, that bottom section. And then once it flattened out, we kind of just found our own paces, and whatever happened at that point. And I was in no man's land from tree line up. So I couldn't see anyone above me, and I couldn't see anybody below me. I honestly was just like by myself. I was like, I don't know where anyone is. I don't know what's going on, but I don't think anyone's catching me, and I don't think I'm catching anyone.
So I'm curious, because you both ran it last year, was there anything specific that you took away from last year's race and tried to improve on for this year?
Not go out so hard. Yeah, I think like this year I decided to go out really conservative and like play the long game, because last year I went out really hard, and you witnessed the blow up. Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, you knew. You passed me and you're like, come on. And I was like, no, MK, this is it. That's all I got. This is, your girl left it on the pavement down below. So this year I promised, I told Eli, I'm like, I promised myself I'm not going to go out hard, and it'll be a better day. So that's what I learned from last year. And also maybe do some altitude runs before, like actually get up above tree line. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Me and her spent quite a bit more time above tree line, actually running versus it's pretty easiest for us to get to tree line, but usually when we're there, we're hiking. Like not many people actually run above tree line. So that was a new one for us.
Yeah, it's funny, like even thinking back in my career, like in the Leadville 100, which was sort of like my introduction to the sport, a lot of the front range athletes sort of think that they're acclimatized because they live at 5,000 or 6,000 feet. You guys living at 8,000 feet, 14's a whole different ball game. Obviously, you're probably at an advantage compared to people who are coming from sea level, but it is a variable that you still have to prepare for at something like Pikes.
You still feel it.
I think that was a huge thing for me last year. Was I actually ran Mount Whitney and one of the other 14ers, Mount Langley, like before Pikes Peak Ascent, because I was like, I just want to suffer for a little bit. I'm going to have to suffer because nobody feels good above 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
Like, if they say that, they're lying.
Yeah. Or they're walking.
Yeah.
So, Eli, I have to ask, I mean, obviously it was a historic day on the mountain. You ran, was it 207 for you? Remy ran about 2 flat, broke Matt Carpenter's legendary course record. You say you feel
Amazing,
like you have a lot of room for improvement yourself, but I mean, it's pretty cool to be part of a historic day on the mountain. And anything you want to say just about those performances, how it inspired you?
Yeah, honestly, watching the days before leading in, I was like, oh, there's no way it's happening. And watching him run away from me, it was it was amazing. He is a phenomenal runner to watch run uphill, or run in general. But watching him run uphill, he kind of has this like mystery to him. You're like, how in the world is that possible?
Yeah.
But it was something that I loved watching, and I want to go back and see if I can get down close to that time. I think it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, awesome.
And quite a few years.
So, unless, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, let's switch over to Mammoth Trail Fest.
Yeah. Maybe before we get to it, I'd love to hear, because Eli was on my show recently, and we talked about you, Tabor, and about how, like, you know, obviously him coming from more of a multi-sport background, you coming from more of a traditional running background, talking about like the influences you guys have had on each other in your training. I'd love to hear maybe anything you've picked up from Eli's multi-sport background and vice versa. Anything Eli wants to add?
In the words of Killian, muchas horas. As a track athlete, like, I don't know, you do 8 miles a day and you're like, I am done. Like, you do one session, you do it hard. All your runs are like you run all runs hard, and that's what you do. And like when Eli and I first met, I was like, I'm going on my long run. Like, do you want to come with? He's like, yeah. And I'm trying to run like 6:30s, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, running hard. Like, that's what you do every run.
Every single day.
Every day.
This
you
is
do that.
college. Come on.
Yeah, like, you run hard. Well, then the more we spent time together and now have been like each other's training partners, what Eli has really instilled in me is like taking things easy. And it's been an evolution because I think everything needs to be hard. Turns out like easy runs and easy rides are really great, but also volume. We've really increased that over the last 2 years. And I think that's been super beneficial because I was a fast athlete, but I was not a fit athlete. And I've also taught Eli how to recruit fast twitch muscle fibers.
We're still working on that one.
I'm like, we're going to go to the track today, and you're going to try and get booty lock. It's a work in progress for him, yeah. But I think that's been the biggest takeaway is we've just been doing more and less running overall and more like skiing, cycling, roller skiing, just kind of keeping the variety, but keeping volume high. And it keeps it really mentally refreshing. Do you have anything to that?
That was great. You're a great talker.
As a fellow track and field athlete, I can't tell you how many years it took me to realize that you can't run 7:30 pace on the trails.
Yes.
If you like, I look at Strava. Tommy and I joke about this all the time, and like all of my runs are like, this is slower than normal because all of the original loops that I used to do, I'd just be hammering every day, and now I'm like, oh, I'm out for a little jog.
I remember doing my very first trail race and I had to hike.
Yes.
And I told Eli, I had an awful race.
Did
and he's
you
like,
cry?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Same.
I was like, Eli, I had to hike in the race. And he's like, yeah, that's like normal.
I think that's trail running.
I feel that very deeply in my soul.
Good.
A lot of tears and a lot of my coach commenting on my Strava, too fast for like a whole year.
Well, there's going to be no hiking tomorrow. I'm predicting that. I mean, maybe a couple of steps going up the Dragon's Back where it's loose near the top. But
Yeah.
speaking about tomorrow, one of the things I've been thinking about is obviously Sierras and All was, 6 weeks ago now, something like that. And MK and Danny and I had been talking about how it's a mix between fast and steep and slow. This sort of feels similar. It sets up differently than Sierras and All, but the opening miles will be fast. Coming off the top of the mountain, probably all the way to the finish line is going to be fast. It's a different course from the 26K last year. But anything you guys want to add about like how the course sets up, how you think about it strategically?
I hope it's not like Sierras and All.
We just had the conversation of we're going to need a couple years before we can go back to Sierras and All.
I was going to ask you guys about that.
we both had rough days in Sierras and All this
Definitely
year.
some PTSD.
But that's where
from
you
that
guys
race.
honeymooned.
We did. So we had really great memories. And then this year we had really bad memories. And I'm like, Eli, I don't think I can do that race for a really long time. So hopefully better days overall here than there. But how would you say it sets up?
Honestly, like I think one of the biggest things is how many people are going to take it out so hard on the flat, fast section first. I think that hill is going to be surprisingly tough just because of how fast the first little bit's going to be. And so I think you might actually see quite a few changes on the very top of the hill, which in Sierras and All, it was kind of you work your way up, and then on the long sections, on the flat sections, that's where you see a lot of the changes happening.
A lot of the carnage, I think, happens
I think
there.
the carnage might start happening a little earlier than later in this course.
Yeah, and then I think, I don't know how many positions are going to change on that downhill. As long as you're running decently well, it's
It's going to
hard
be
to
very
catch them.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so runnable. It's not
Right.
like, oh, I'm not good at technical downhill, so
Yeah.
I can't make
Yeah.
up time. Like you're either like fast. I mean, you two being fast athletes will really help, I think, on this course, or you're just hanging on for dear life.
I think I counted the rocks, and I think there was 4 on the trail.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting, though. So just for our viewers to reemphasize that, prediction being that probably there won't be a lot of change of position coming off the top of the mountain on the downhill because it's not super technical. It's a place where people, as long as you're not imploding, you should be able to sort of
think so.
Yeah,
hang on.
survive to the finish.
You gotta eat that food. You
Yeah.
gotta eat those extra gels.
Or as in,
Tabor, she's talking to you.
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
yeah, Caitlin Fielder already told me this when she passed me. She's like, Tabor, take a gel. I'm like, it's way beyond that.
my gosh, no! I think you guys are gonna crush it. This seems like honestly right up your alley. And so I'm curious, like, what are you guys most excited about for the course?
The steep section at the top. I love steep uphills, and I think that's going to be I think that's an important part of the race. So I think that's what I'm most excited for.
Dragon's Back is epic too. The views are insane. I don't know that you guys will get them because you might be in a cloud, but
Hey, there could be a little snow.
I know.
There's a big cloud out there right now.
Just
Maybe
like
there's a little
Alex.
snow.
I bet there.
Yeah.
I bet there will be because it's raining down here.
That's what I'm talking about. We
That
need some.
would-
We need some adversity here.
That would be a highlight, but then the entire downhill.
Yeah.
The entire downhill is
Oh, yeah.
going to be your favorite part.
Yes.
Yeah, honestly,
No
it's-
technicality,
No,
runnable. Yeah.
you're going to be flying.
430 miles for the win.
Yes, I think I was running 5:30s down it last year. So like, no joke, you can really open up.
I haven't seen a 5:30 since I was like in middle school. One thing I'm really curious about that I bet some folks in the audience would love to hear you guys talk about, obviously, like with what you're doing, focusing mostly on the sub-ultra distance stuff, and with the Golden Trail World Series, really like stepping into a new league and establishing itself as like, you know, one of the most important series on the planet. I mean, you guys race a lot, you know, and so like the balance between like racing and then like training and then racing again and traveling and all that mixed into one, you know, formula of trying to be a high performance professional athlete. I'd love to just like open it up there if there's anything you guys want to say about like how you balance the training and racing component.
I would not say we did it perfectly this year. Our travel was a little bit heinous. We spent a lot of time in airports and a lot of time not recovering well because of travel.
Well, a lot of back and forth to Europe time.
Yeah,
which was
we've gone
not
to Europe
ideal.
a few too many times this year, and we did that like specifically trying to have extra time in between races. Whereas I think next year or the incoming years, we're going to try to spend a little bit more time over there and maybe do like a couple races, a few races over there, and try to minimize the travel a little bit because that was a harsh thing this year.
Yeah, because I think we'll have done a total of like 11 races this year, and only like 2 were in Colorado. So
how do you set up the training in that circumstance? Like, is it something where like you try and get the most volume and fitness early in the year and then race, recover, maybe train a little bit, but
Yeah.
maybe
I
not
think
as much volume?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes big volume in the winter.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time out on the skis, a little time in on the treadmill. But
not much running.
not much running at all, but we had a lot of volume all winter.
Más horas.
Muchas
Yeah,
horas.
muchas horas.
And we, I think leading into races, it's more going off of specificity, like work to what your next race is, and maintaining fitness. But I wouldn't say with how much we're racing that we're gaining a ton of fitness in between each race. There was a few that we tried to use as kind of a springboard as to upgrade our fitness.
Yeah, like I think-
not Broken Arrow.
No,
Breakneck.
or A Basin, I think was a good one.
Yeah,
Like we
like-
did A Basin
Cirque Series.
Cirque Series 2 weeks ago because it was that stimulus where it was like you're going hard, but the entire race was above tree line.
Yeah.
So like you felt that terrible feeling of like, wow, I'm running really hard, but I'm not really going anywhere.
It feels like I'm going really slow.
Yes.
The effort doesn't match the pace.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're like, I feel like I'm running like 5:30s.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
like
you're
blacking out,
You're
but
like, why does my watch say 13-minute pace? Yeah, I think, and I don't think we did it perfectly this year with how we balanced training and racing. I think Sears and All was a great example of that. Of like, we went to Mont Blanc, and that was super motivating. And instead of taking the needed time after a big stimulus like that, plus the travel, we just got right back into 6 hard weeks of training leading into Sears and All, thinking we're going to build all this fitness and like get all this leg speed. And instead, we got to Sears and All, and we were just overcooked.
So
And,
in
like,
retrospect, do you wish you would have stayed in Europe between Mont Blanc and Sierras and all?
I think so. And I think it would have forced us, like, we wouldn't have had bikes over there. So we wouldn't have been, like, doing extra volume that way. And, like, because we live on a working cattle ranch, like, we have a lot of physical activity in a day that, like, on top of our training adds to overall life stress. So like at home, we like go and train, but then we have to do a lot of other things. It's not just sitting and recovering and let it soak in. So when we tell my parents like, we're going over to Europe, peace, we're gonna lay on a couch during the middle of the day, like we can't really do that at home. Which we choose that lifestyle for sure, but I definitely think it adds up, and we did not do a good job of balancing that this year, and that showed in racing. So we changed a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, moral of the story is it's a learning process for us.
It's a fine line.
This is only our second year racing trails, really. So I think many years to come, we'll get smarter with it. But
Totally.
we're big into testing it ourselves.
We don't know what we're doing.
I don't know that any of us really do, especially with the sub ultra world because it's still so new.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you can race a ton, but maybe like it isn't the best idea.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was just really interested about is like, how do you keep the motivation, the fitness high when you're racing so much and you're traveling? Like, the training has to get compromised and sacrificed. And
I think fitness is easy to maintain. I think it's hard to grow. I think it takes a lot of effort to grow, but maintaining it is relatively easy.
Cool. So, I mean, even though we've sort of positioned it as like you guys are learning, you guys are crushing it, man. You guys
thanks.
are, I mean, certainly making us American trail running fans really proud. I think you're ranked 4th right now in the Golden Trail World Series. I think you're 10th, Tabor.
Yeah, I think so.
So both in the top 10 and what is definitely the deepest, most competitive international racing series. Maybe thinking a little bit further ahead, obviously you're both probably pre-qualified for the final. Mammoth is the final, I guess, quote unquote, regular season race on the Golden Trail World Series before you head off to Europe again for Italy next month. Anything you want to say about, that part of the season and, how this might set you up for what will be sort of like the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think this for both of us is a bit of trying to get higher on that points list. We both had lackluster Sears and all, and that's kind of our low ranking score because you can score 3 races for the year besides the final, or not including the final. So we're trying to replace our score of Sears and all with something a little bit higher. So if we can finish something higher than Sears and all, it's a good day.
And then like looking at the final, I don't know, it's just a celebration. Like it's been a long season and a fun season. Like we love to race, and that's why you see us racing a lot.
Yeah.
It's our social outlet. But I think like a lot of people put a lot of pressure on the final, and instead for us, we're like, well, all the work's done. Like all the important racing's happened. So this is just like a time to go run somewhere new and like hard and see some stuff. And,
Love it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I feel like I probably know the answer to this already, but are you more or less excited about the single day format as opposed to the 5-day stage race?
Last year I would have told you that single day was going to be the best. Now with all the volume, I'm like looking for the attrition. I'm like, how many people are
25K is too short.
Yeah. I'm like, give me a 30K.
I'm thankful for the 9K prologue.
Yes, right.
Hopefully it'll get people a little bit tired.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's just going to like warm them up.
Is that flat?
No, it has like
I can't remember how much.
has like 1,000 feet of climbing in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
A
just
little bit.
annoying.
Yeah, like not flat enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Well, good luck, guys. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
in
so
and doing
much.
the interview. We're
for having
going to be
us.
watching and commentating on the broadcast tomorrow and cheering you guys on. So put on a show for us, okay?
We'll try.
Amazing.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
There you have it, folks. The Hemmings, Eli and Tabor. MK, what'd you think?
I'm excited to see him out there.
Heck yeah. Great. So we have a couple more interviews coming. Next, I think, is Garrett Corcoran and Dan Kurtz, who should be in here momentarily. So don't go anywhere.